So this week we are looking at the special senses, and I'm gonna take you guys through taste, which involves gustation and gustatory cells. But first of all, looking at the brain, specifically the parietal lobe is one of our taste areas of the brain. And along with this, we have your medulla oblongata, which I've arrowed. And this is obviously your receptor receiving all that information from your taste cells, and then it's processed with a response. So moving on to your oral cavity, which we name for this general area, but more specifically, you can see the arrow where I've circled the term oral cavity. The four main areas from the cavity you need to know are your pharynx, your tongue, which obviously is, I think, a very easy one for all of us, and then your epiglottis, which is like a small little flap, just almost at the back of your mouth, and then you have your soft palate. Be careful not to get it mixed up with your hard palate, which is where on this PowerPoint the actual palate term that I haven't circled is located, and you see that central area has got like a bone sort of look and appearance to it, which is why it's called the hard palate. So just make sure you don't get confused between the soft palate and the hard palate. So moving on to your taste bud epithelium, specifically your papillae. All of these are located on the tongue, and as you can see, the circumvallate papillae are almost like a V shape towards the back of the tongue, okay? And these are just papillae which contain taste buds. Then foliate papillae, we don't need to know, ignore that. The filiform papilla, okay, these just are basically coating the tongue to provide it with a little bit of protection. Obviously, as epithelium, these are slightly protective cells and they have layers, and this can just help when chewing food and just performing daily kind of tasks with our tongues. And then moving on to fungiform papillae, these are more spread out on the main area of the tongue, and these are also containing taste buds. These cells generally cover a much larger area of the tongue than any of the other cells. Then looking into our other types of taste bud epithelium, we have transitional cells, basal cells, gustatory cells, taste hairs, and taste pores, which all can be located in this image and on this cell here. Basal cells are simply your precursor cells, which then give rise to those more mature taste bud cells. Okay, this image here is at a microscopic level. Just take that into consideration. So don't be confused looking at this. This is really sort of like to the finest detail. Okay. And then actually within the cell, we have transitional and gustatory cells, which make up the main part of the cell, and they're alternating, okay, throughout the cell. Moving to the top of the cell, we have taste hairs and taste pores. Much like cilia, you have the hairs, okay, which are going to sort of catch, trap, whichever word you want to use, things that run along the tongue. And the pores are sort of there to activate those receptor cells once the hairs have trapped whatever it is. However, obviously you guys just need to be able to, as it says in the handout, examine the model, use the textbook, and describe the structure of the receptors. Okay, so you guys just need to be able to describe the structure of this, not necessarily what it does, but I'm just giving you that extra bit of information because for some people that is going to help them learn the location a little bit better, and it applies to your lecture. Okay, so finally we just have your taste sensations, which there are 5: umami, sour, sweet, bitter, salty. I think the last 4 explain themselves. Some people may not know about umami, which is your more common sort of main foods that make up your diet. So you've got a lot of your meats, your fishes, as the image here shows, tomatoes, So very common foods that we use in most of our cooking. And these all have specific locations on the tongue as to where their specific um, sort of receptors can be found. Okay, and you guys are definitely going to have to know the locations of these five.